Something that will always sit in the forefront of my mind is everything big starts small. The hard part is when you're building a community, you're going to be all excited about an event that you're putting on, and you might have no one show up. If no one shows up or two people show up, you are so defeated that you never go to that next event. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many events I've had where people don't show up, and I don't care. I go to the next one and the next one, the next one. So you have got to have consistency, and you've got to have grit to get through. The payoff, if you can be consistent and do it over time, is huge. Like, you're literally building your network to build your net worth, and you can launch so many different things when you have a good network. I think that a lot of people just don't have the ability to stick with something that sucks, embrace the suck.
Yeah. All right, today I have someone super special, the one and only Kristen Cantrell, who I'm just going to read your Instagram bio because I think it's pretty well. But you're one multi-passionate mama. So your IG bio reads, you create spaces for entrepreneurs to thrive one event at a time. You're in real estate, you're a podcaster, a room creator, a master connector, and an Airbnb-er. Holy moly, that's a mouthful. Plus, you're a mom to two boys that are 7 and 9-year-olds, host of the Mom in Real Estate podcast, which is over 233 episodes now. Oh my gosh. And then the founder of Connect and Cultivate, which has 15 plus locations and growing nationwide. So You are busy, multi-passionate. Holy moly. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, holy moly is right. Sometimes and I'm like, whoa, what am I doing?
No, I'm the same. I'm like, okay, I have 32 hours. What else can we build today? Like,
totally. I just love creating. I feel like that's what I've really found out. I actually, if you've ever done like a human design, I had this girl who taught it at my last retreat, and I found out I'm a manifestor generator. Mm-hmm. And I felt so seen when I heard all this, because it's like, I really do thrive with like multiple projects going on at a time. Yeah. And so for so long, I was ashamed of that. And when I finally realized I was built for this, I was like, okay, I feel good.
Yes, 100%. I'm the same. I've got 3 businesses, plus we're homeschooling. Like, we're crazy people, but we're also just we've got ideas on end where other people don't have that skill set at all. They're like, what do you mean I can make money in 5 days? I'm like, yes, let me tell you exactly how.
This is how we do it.
Okay, well, I want to stop for a second because you just went on a trip. I saw on your Instagram, and you had no self-service for like a week.
No, oh gosh, it was only 3 days with no self-service, which was
That's
great.
A lot.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even miss it. Outside of talking to my kids and my husband, I was like, I could do this.
Do you think you would ever add that into your routine every now and then to kind of deplug? Like, how was that for you?
Yeah, it was great. I have found myself sometimes where it's it is very annoying that if I'm stopped at a stoplight, I have to pull up Instagram. I'm like, oh my gosh, can we get off of this? And I actually get annoyed. I don't even enjoy scrolling, and I find myself scrolling. So to take that away for 3 days was fantastic. And I should absolutely do that, at least once a month.
I know. I saw that and I was like, I can't even remember the last time I haven't had it for more than 24 hours. Like, it's just always on all the time. So
all the time.
Good on you. Props on you.
Or do you hear people are like, oh, I deleted my Instagram. I'm like, whoa, how did you, that's where all your business comes from. How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, how long have you been in real estate and an entrepreneur?
I've been in real estate for 9 years. I've been an entrepreneur since 2020.
Okay.
I started in real estate as a recruiter, and I helped build the #1 independent brokerage in the nation. And that's where I learned so much of what I do. A lot of what I do has been it's really my personality, and what I've enjoyed doing my whole life is building community and being around people. But really taking that into how to build a business was really when it was how to recruit and retain real estate agents.
Yeah. And dude, just hiring and firing in the whole process is a lot. And for me, it gets so draining because the retention isn't always there.
Yep.
So many looky-loos and I'm going to change my life with this business. And then 3 months go by and crickets, and you're like, what are we doing? And as a mentor, it feels super draining. How do you maintain that balance? Are you just vetting people better than me? what does that look like?
I was taught early on that it's a numbers game. And while I have this battle with that sentence. It really is in real estate, just because 90% of people that get into real estate, and even being an entrepreneur, there's a huge fail rate. It takes a lot of work. And I think people underestimate that, how much, right? So for me, I really was at the beginning, it was just like numbers, 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 get people and get bodies in. Some will stick, some won't.
Yeah.
What really shifted for me was when I really was like, well, who do I want to be in front of, and really attracting the right people and setting the right expectations. And still, you got to bring in a lot of people, because even if you do those things, there's going to be people that you're like, oh my gosh, like they came and joined me and started working with me, and I haven't heard anything from them, and it's been months. Like, are they alive? I have no clue what's going on. But I think you just kind of get used to that, and you just got to keep going. You're always in build mode.
That's true. It's true. And you never know, like out of the blue, someone amazing will come up and it'll make up for all the other 10 duds that you went through. And you're like, oh, there's my person.
All the time. Or you know what? I also I'll never forget this one lady I had an interview with, and I was like, there's no way this girl's going to make it in real estate. I kept thinking that in my head. Right. And, we ended up I was like, hey, let's give her a shot. Let's see what happens. She became a top producer within a year and a half. And I literally told her, I said, shame on me for thinking that, but also what a great reminder that I can't tell if someone's going to be successful based off of an hour conversation. Yeah. Some people kill it in their first interview and they suck at real estate. So really allowing myself not to make that the end all be all,
Yeah, that's so good. And project things onto them. That's awesome. So you've been busy for a long time, and you've got the 2 little kids. I've got 2 as well. I've got a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. So we're in it. How do you take care of yourself? Because I know you mentioned in the pre-show form, some self-care things you do. Talk to us for the busy moms. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I did not take care of myself for a long time. And it really hit over the last couple years where I have hormone problems, I have gut issues, I have all these things. So really, when I was building out Connect and Cultivate and what I want it to look like, I had to incorporate health and wellness in there, because if it's not incorporated in there, I won't do it.
Yeah.
And what I found is the more I talk about health and wellness, that is my ideal client. That's what they want to talk about too. We don't want to talk about business all the time. We're not hustle culture people. We want to talk about being well-rounded. And so whenever I do anything with my business, I run it through, is the topic's going to be around business, money mindset, connection and community, and then the other is health and wellness. So I just did a workshop for my female entrepreneurs that was called the Wellness Toolkit. And we did breath work, and not breath work where we're laying on the ground. Yes, I've done that. I love doing that. But this was more I'm in my car. I'm stressed out because I'm about to go into an appointment. What are some tactical things that I can do to get me through this? I don't know why this isn't taught in elementary school, honestly. I'm some of this stuff, I'm like, gosh. And I do teach my kids it now. But yeah, just really incorporating that. I got a membership at this place where I go in a room and there's a sauna, a cold plunge, and a grounding mat. And I'm stuck in there for an hour. And it's hard for me because I'm like, what am I going to do in here for an hour? Just sit here. And I really try to do not get on your phone. Listen to a pleasure book, not some self-help book, not some business book. Let's actually take some time to ourselves. And that's been really helpful. And sometimes I will do meetings where instead of sitting across from them at a table, we'll go on walks. I love doing that. That's been my favorite thing. If the weather calls for it, let's go on a walk and talk business.
So good.
So yeah, those are a couple of things I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talk to me about your schedule right now, because obviously no day's the same and every week is also different, but how do you kind of compartmentalize where your time and energy goes with doing all the things? Do you have time blocks? What's your percentages towards each business? Talk me through that.
Yeah. So and this is always changing. I don't ever want anyone to think I have this down. This is probably my biggest struggle. Right now I'm summer mom. So right now that means that I wake up really early, I work out, and then from 6:30 until 12 is my working time. And then from 12 o'clock on, I'm summer mom, whatever that looks like. So I'm blocking out if we want to go to a pool, we want to go to a jump house, we want to go do whatever. Not saying that I won't still kind of be working, but I will not be taking appointments there if I can avoid it. Yeah. But as far as all the different businesses, I just got off of my Moms in Real Estate, which is my podcast time block, which is every single Monday from 10 to 11 o'clock. Okay. And then on Thursdays, every other Thursday, I have another Moms in Real Estate block where I do podcasting. So I'll block out a little bit before I go on, and then I'll have my podcast and a little bit afterwards, and the before and after for the marketing. But those are set blocks where if I didn't do that, I wouldn't do Moms in Real Estate.
Yeah.
And then I think like more on my schedule too. I try to plan out a year in advance for all my events, because otherwise it would be hard to just show up and be like, oh yeah, we got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I know like, okay, this is what I'm committing to this year. And then we start going and planning each one, and then plugging them into the calendar, and then plugging like all the things needed to do around those events into the calendar and stuff.
Cool. So I love that you're doing kind of the 4-hour workday every day, and it's totally still working.
Yeah. I actually haven't read that, but yes.
Well, I think it's the 4-hour, is it the 4-hour work week or it's the work day? Do you remember if it's day or week, the book?
I forget, but I thought I need to read it.
Yeah, it might be a day, but I think it's a 3-hour. But we're doing the 4-hour too. I'm the same zone. Like there's no way that I can homeschool if I was working 8 hours a day and all this stuff and running a honey company. Like it just doesn't happen. But I think people who on the outside, like women looking at us, might think they must be working around the clock. They're staying up till midnight. Like they probably think that this has mentality. Then they're done.
In bed by 8 o'clock.
Yes. Hey ladies, real quick, if you are looking for a mentor, I just wanted to remind you that I offer mentorship to entrepreneurs. So if you're someone who has a never-ending to-do list and you're spiraling out of control and feel like your business doesn't have a track plan, I want to work with you every single week for a month at a time. It's super simple, but I come from over 10 years of experience doing this myself, and now I'm willing to give that information back to people. So I've mentored real estate agents, I've mentored wedding photographers, I've mentored other business owners, and they've come from a place of overwhelm mostly, and they really just needed clarity and a couple of action steps to move the needle, and we've seen gigantum leaps and bounds in their business, like I can't even tell you. So if you're interested and you want to know what that looks like, I want you to go to marinatolentino.com, and there's a Calendly link there to do a 15-minute discovery call with me just to see if we're a good vibe check, to make sure we're on the same page, and I would love to work with you one-on-one to really boost your business to the next level. Let's dive back in. Do you have an assistant, or how do you delegate a lot of your stuff? What does that look like?
My poor sister is my everything. So and then I also have a marketing assistant. So yeah, I'm actually, after this call today, I have to kind of go through, this has been an area I suck at, you guys. Like when it comes to leading my internal team, I'm not great. I'm just kind of like, I hope everyone can keep up. And here's this. So I spoke to my coach last week about this, and I am committed to being a lot more clear and having consistency within that aspect of my business. So I don't think I should give advice there.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that we take for granted is our assistants are not mind readers.
No, I wish they were.
Often we'll go into like autopilot and then they're trying to play catch up and they're like, wait, what do you mean you did these other meetings? Or I'm like, we didn't even talk about this stuff. And I'm like 5 miles ahead of them.
Totally.
Sometimes you have to slow down and explain some things. So,
well, and I've been like, I can't have my sister be like, I'll say my sister because that's what she is. But I can't have her be like in charge of like the client experience and the vendor program and my accounting and sending out all of my email marketing and creating graphics and showing up at all my events. And that's what I've done. And I'm just like, and then if something falls through the cracks, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how did you miss this? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, how did she not miss it? You know? So I'm just trying to like organize right now and like fix that problem.
Yeah, that's actually a good reminder. I'm kind of going through that struggle point too. Since we've added the podcast, we're just adding more and more onto my EA's plate. And I start to feel that like, it's a little bit too much because it is a lot, you know, with all the marketing stuff that we do. It's its own role. Absolutely. Well, I want to dive into community stuff because I feel like we've been experiencing this loneliness epidemic, let alone being a mom who's already busy, doesn't have time for a lot of social events and stuff. Yeah. How do you start the create and cultivate? No.
Connect and cultivate.
Connect and cultivate. What made you start that? Like, what was the impetus for that?
So for me, like when I started my business, it was like kind of on accident. So we closed down an independent brokerage and we moved to a virtual brokerage where they had a model where you could get paid off of revenue shares. So I went into it looking at like, okay, I'm a broker owner and I've got to figure out what's my value proposition. Like if there's agents that get licensed and they're like, where am I going to go work? Or an agent that's unhappy at another brokerage and they're looking, what am I able to say that I'm offering them? And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out with myself because I thought, Well, I don't sell real estate. I never want to sell real estate. I know all top producing agents who I refer to. I'm friends with them. They teach for me. They do all these things, but that's not where I want to work. But
Mm,
I knew that agents, I've met with thousands of them. Like I knew that they wanted to be around people and they wanted to grow and learn and they feel like they're lonely. So I was like, I'm going to create Connect and Cultivate to be where I have consistency on bringing them together to grow in their business and their life and bridge the gap of like the online brokerage and have the in-person events. And so that they didn't feel like they needed a broker or like a brick and mortar office. So that's kind of how it started. It was built solely off of my income would be off of revenue share, which is super lucrative. And I grew that. I grew it to where I was making like 20 grand a month, which was great. But what I noticed was when you're a community builder and a networker and you love meeting people and all of a sudden you're on a nationwide platform, all these other doors open up. And so I was meeting with women all over the United States. And if the brokerage I was at, which was EXP, didn't fit for them, all of a sudden I was like, well, what else is there? There's nothing else. And so I just started listening to like, well, if they didn't want that, what do they want?
yeah.
And so I'll never forget, I was at the park with one of the moms from school. We were watching our kids play and she's like, she had come to one of my events and I was like, hey, it's for real estate, but like really you could learn from it too. So she came and so we were at the park and she's like, I just want you to know how great that was. And I wish that there was a you in my community and in my industry. And I was like, well, why couldn't I be that for her? So I just started asking myself, I don't have to really change much. I just have to pivot a little bit because real estate agents are entrepreneurs. They don't think of themselves that way. I can help them think of themselves that way. And I can just really speak to female entrepreneurs instead. So that's when I opened up my membership was because of that one conversation that I had. So now I'm able to service all female entrepreneurs, which opens it up to any brokerage. I don't care what brokerage anybody's at. They're totally welcome to be a part of my community. It just might look a little bit different depending on how you're in there. And then I started looking at vendor partnerships. Like people wanted their businesses highlighted throughout my community. Well, what did that look like? So I created a vendor program. And then I heard forever, like, oh, I wish there was a Connect and Cultivate in my city. Like, dang it. And I always wondered, how am I going to grow nationwide? And it like did not make sense to me. And one of my girlfriends said, she's out of Nevada. She's a team leader in real estate out of Nevada. And she said, hey, could I take the Connect and Cultivate brand to Nevada? And I was like, I don't know. And so when she asked me that, she's like, why don't you franchise your business? And I'm like, I hate that word. Like, I don't like franchises. And so then I was like, you know what? I can just like, if I put everything together, all my knowledge that I've been doing for creating rooms and my process and my procedures and everything and tied it up and called it a business in a box, then I could do it. Yeah. And so I created my chapter leader program where I give people the Connect and Cultivate brand, the process and procedures. I coach them twice a month. They're around other people doing the same thing. And so all these things started coming up and there's more of them. I'll just go over these ones. Yeah. Just because I listened to what people were asking for instead of just trying to make everyone fit into this one thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And it's a room for all. I think that's what's so exciting about it. And imagine like the networking potential now, because you have cross promotion between all industries. Like it's just a win-win-win. Yeah. Which is really good. I think one of the things that probably stops a lot of people is the intimidation about starting a community. Yeah. Like what tips do you have for someone if they're like, yes, we need this, or I need it in my industry or something? Like what advice do you have for them to get started?
Something that will always sit in the forefront of my mind is everything big starts small. The hard part is when you're building a community, you're going to be all excited about an event that you're putting on, and you might have no one show up. And then if no one shows up or two people show up, you are so defeated that you never go to that next event. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many events I've had where people don't show up and I don't care. I go to the next one and the next one, the next one. So you have got to have consistency and you've got to have grit to get through. Yeah. Like 100%. And if you need bodies in the room, you better be ready to ask everybody to come. Being a master inviter is a huge thing. You can't just put something on social media once, twice, 3 times and think like, oh, this is going to be great. Yeah. You need to do it like on a massive level. And it takes a long time. And so just really like, I will stress that but the payoff, if you can be consistent and do it over time, is huge. Like you're literally building your network to build your net worth, and you can launch so many different things when you have a good network.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people just don't have the ability to stick with something that sucks, embrace the suck.
Yeah. And people don't post all the failures. They just see the successes. So they probably didn't see a picture of you sitting in a room by yourself. They just see rooms now where it's
I literally have an event on Wednesday night. I was like, oh, there's going to be like 200 people at this event. There is definitely not 200 people. And I'm like, and I've done a crappy job promoting it. And like, it's not always great. Like sometimes it's really hard, so just, you got to know that that's for anything.
That's so true. Resiliency, dedication, so good. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Work Like a Mother podcast. Real quick, I just want to remind you guys, if you are worried about missing an episode, you don't have to worry anymore, because we are creating a weekly email that's going to go out automatically every single time there's a brand new episode. And this email is going to have everything you need to know about this week's featured guest. It's going to have all of the links and the resources that we're going to talk about in this episode. So you don't have to go around and fumble through the show notes, but it's going to be served in your inbox every single week. So if you guys want that access, be sure to click below one time in the show notes today, sign up for that email, and then you'll never have to worry about it in the future. And bonus, if you really love this, we'd love it if you share this with a friend. Give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to, and we'll continue to bring new episodes, new information that's going to help you level up your life every single week. And then what are some of the events you guys throw? Because it's not just like you're bringing in a speaker to talk about one topic. Like I just saw in your Instagram stories, you got fun things happening. Like, what are you guys doing?
Oh, we do it all. So, like this week we have a ladies' night. And so I do those once a quarter, and I started doing those just for fun because my sister's an esthetician, and I was like, how can like we do something together? Yeah. My other sister. And, so anyways, I've been doing them a long time. What's really cool is if you're a community builder, you can use the Augusta rule as a tax strategy, which I can write off my house. I can rent my house to myself up to 14 times a year. So the ladies' nights have always been like a really good placeholder for that, for me to be able to do that. So yeah, it's just bringing girls together, and we do not talk business. We're just like literally in community with each other. I do a big women's event once a year where we do bring in speakers. I do retreats where I bring in speakers. I do workshops are my favorite. I do those quarterly, and I like them because I like those like 30, 40 people rooms. I don't like my big rooms as much. So we just, like I was telling you guys, we did a wellness one. We do content creation days every single month. Those are my favorite. Because getting content sucks like so bad, and coming up with new ideas, coming up with hooks and what to say and how, like someone just telling you what to do is so nice. So we do that every month. I have an email marketing meetup this week. I have 3 masterminds this week. So, putting people in rooms with people that are in a similar situation, super important. You don't want to have somebody who's brand new in business and somebody who's tenured in business. You want to have like a good mix based off of like the ability and the production and the time. And, so I have those. I don't know. There's
you obviously have a village because you can't do it all by yourself. So you've grown this over time, that's what people need to get to, is you can't do it alone, and you're going to need to manage people. Like if you're going to grow and scale, you have to lean on other people. That's part of this business. I think more of us need to hear that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I think for the real estate industry specifically, like leverage, and this is any industry, but I'm just like thinking through that, but like leverage is so important. Like I can't do all of this on my own. Like my real estate leg of my business, I have the most amazing partners who I'm like, hey, I was out of town hiking in the Grand Canyon last week. Like I did not worry about having coverage for anything because I knew I could be like, these are the people that I'm financially aligned with that will have my back and take on anything I need from them,
Yeah. Which that's freedom right there, that you can unplug and business keeps turning. That's a true business. Yeah. So good. Well, I know you're a master marketer and you're on all the platforms and stuff, but I want to talk to a woman who's like maybe starting out in their entrepreneurial journey and they're overwhelmed by everything. What are 2 pillars that you're like, absolutely, you have to have these, and these are the things working in 2024?
2 pillars as far as like platforms that I use?
Yeah.
Like you mean Instagram would be an answer?
Yeah. Or email or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Instagram is definitely like my favorite. I'm not even on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I have a really big Facebook group, but I hate Facebook. I'm like, oh, it's hard to log in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Instagram is definitely my main one. And then podcasting all day long. Podcasting for prospecting is such a great tool.
Good.
It's a door opener, right? And so if you can look at it like that, I think people get confused on they want a podcast. I just had a conversation with a girl in Texas today.
Yeah.
If you want a podcast, you've got to ask yourself, why am I podcasting? And a lot of times people are podcasting to, I'm not doing that. A lot of times people are podcasting to like expand their network. And if you are like, you have got to have a process and procedure around it, but then also like you really want to make sure that you're highlighting somebody else and highlighting their story and you're building a relationship. Like one thing I've noticed a lot of people podcasting doing too is they'll do the podcast and then all of a sudden like there's nothing afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to do it, make sure that you remember that these are people you want in your community now moving forward. Yeah. So what does that look like?
Oh, 100%. And it is a relationship over time. We should keep going back and being like, hey, you mentioned that one program. How did it go? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Just continuing to DM each other on Instagram and all the socials. Yeah. How long did it take for your podcast to feel like it was working? Like when you first started?
I've been doing my podcast forever, you guys. I would say like the last 2 years has been where it's been like, this is legit.
You started what year?
Huh?
What year did you start?
I started when my son was 1 and my other son was a newborn, and they're 7 and 9 now.
Yeah. So you were just a resiliency. You're like, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep plowing away. Yep.
Yeah. Just keep Thursdays are moms and real estate days, you know, and it definitely like it can be where you put it on the back burner and you still show up, but you're not doing a great job. I've been there for sure. But I feel like over the last 2 years, it's been really cool because, it's just had a lot of reach and I've met some of the most amazing people. Like all my chapter leaders are moms in real estate for my Connect and Cultivate, you know?
Yeah. So I'm at that like 6-month itch. I think we just published today, episode 25, but it hasn't taken off. Like I've gotten great feedback, but it's like, as the high achiever, I'm so impatient and I'm like, it's not working. We don't only have 50 downloads. Like we're not doing it. I just kind of keep going.
Yeah. And this is not good advice at all. This is me going to just be completely honest with you guys. Like I am so bad. I couldn't tell you how many downloads we have, how many viewers we have. Like I can tell you how many Facebook group people we have from the podcast. It's like 23,000. And that's just because it's been like really fun watching that grow. But I'm more of a like put my head down and work. And if I have process and procedure around it, the numbers will come because I hate numbers. They stress me out where a lot of people need those numbers. Like my friend Randy, she's like, I gotta have the numbers. I'm like, okay, I can't. So I'm just like, I just want to work, do good and hope it all makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So to wrap this up, because I don't want to go too long, we're at about 30 minutes. What is something that you want someone to do that's listened to this today? They've heard your journey. They've heard what you do. How do you want them to plug in?
To what I do or just in general? Yeah. Oh, follow me on Instagram, message me. I would love to hear any takeaways that you have. I always think that that's the best thing you can do if you're listening to somebody speak or listening to a podcast. Send me a message. Tell me if there's any way I impacted you and if I can help you with anything because I'm here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we do a fun rapid fire to end every episode. So what is your Starbucks order?
Oh, I don't like Starbucks, but if I have to go, it's a cold foam cold brew.
Okay, yep. Do you have a preference of another coffee company? Do you have like
I go to Pichetto here locally. I feel like Starbucks is so like chemical tasting. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's so much sugar. Okay, what do you make for dinner if it's last minute?
Oh, chicken and rice always.
Yeah, easy. Okay. What's your favorite go-to department of Target? Do you have a favorite designer?
I don't.
You're just simple. Yeah.
I don't. I barely go to Target.
Good job. Okay. Name a book or a podcast you'd recommend to the show and why.
Oh, I'm reading. I'm going to tell you guys, it's a guilty pleasure right now. It's called Court of Thorns. And we started a book club. You read it?
What am I reading? Mist and Fury right now.
Me too. Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. So yeah, I could tell you all the workbooks, which if I have to go workbook, I'm going to say Traction because I'm reading that right now. And I feel like, holy crap, why have I not been like more focused on that? Traction is fantastic, but Court of Thorns, if you're just wanting a good, enjoyable book.
Yes. And we've gone through Traction as a team leader. I used to manage the real estate team for the last 4 years. And so the whole EOS platform is amazing when you're organizing so many different pods of people, like incredible. So absolutely good one. Yes. So TikTok or Instagram is the next question, but we know yours is Instagram. So what is your handle one more time so they can go look you up?
Hey, Kristen Cantrell. So HEY and then my name.
Awesome. Well, this was so good. And I really hope it was just that meet cute for people to discover you, follow your journey, get plugged in, especially for wherever those communities are nationwide. And hopefully we have one coming to wherever they are soon. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I would love that. It's been so great talking to you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye.